Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Pyle Corley. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and now it's time to get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. My name is Pyle, and I am so excited for this episode because I am talking about procrastination, self-discipline, and consistency. Those have been some of the biggest, most challenging shifts I've had to make and wanted to make. And it all happened within, honestly, about 6 months, if I had to say so, and put a timeline on it. So just to give you some context, I want to tell you that today's episode is just a little bit of a story time as to how I went from like chronic procrastinator my entire life to someone who is able to be self-disciplined in a soft, nurturing, not like aggressive, chaotic way. I think self-discipline can have like a very, very bad reputation, or a more masculine reputation. Bad is the wrong word. More masculine reputation of like you're waking up at 6 a.m. every day and you're going to the gym and you're doing this. But it's like there's different definitions of self-discipline that we are allowed to tap into. So I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that today, and like a more feminine way of shifting out of procrastination and into self-discipline. So this version of me, ever since I can remember, I would say middle school, high school, I've always loved doing homework. But whenever I had a deadline on like a project, I would literally wait till the night before, if not the morning of, ever since I can remember. Because if I need to, I work so fast. So say I had an essay, 20-page essay, I would literally wake up at 6:30 a.m., have to go to school at 7:30, and I have literally an hour. And I would put myself in that state of literally fight or flight. Like I'm putting my nervous system in that extreme state, and I would always get it done. I have never, from a school perspective, because I think you learn procrastination in school first, like from a school perspective, I have never like not submitted something, projects, even like my college thesis. I did it, I would say within like 2-3 days. Like me and my partner, we literally wrote our essay the night before it was due. And I think procrastination is almost like a game we learn to start playing when we're in middle school, high school, because we're getting into our own, we're learning our authority. And I have always been someone who will push things to the last minute. I remember so many of my friends were like, "You're not studying." I'm like, "No, I will review it right before and we go in." Also, credit because I have a very good memory. Tom tells me it's photographic. I don't think it is, but he tells me I have a really good memory. And so I wouldn't need to like study and do all this preparation. And in school, fine. When it's memory-based, fine. However, when I stepped into the workforce, whenever I had a boss of my own during internships and stuff, that is when my procrastination, I started to notice how it was hindering me. So like my first bigger internship was at Pepsi in college. And I like waited till the last minute to submit things to my boss or my managers. And they started kind of getting annoyed of it. They're like, "Why can't you submit it when asked? Why do I have to pester you a couple times?" And it just became this thing. Like I had an authority dynamic where like I wanted to wait till the last minute or wait until they asked me for it. And then I would make up some sort of story. Not a good habit. I am not proud of it. But it was definitely rooted in this chronic state of procrastination. Therefore, I was always in a chronic state of like fight or flight, stress, last minute. And it's been who I am. Like it's literally been who I am. And so my basic pattern was I would set goals, have little tasks that I would do. I would do some and then I would fall off and then I would completely skip. Then I would feel bad about myself. Then I would make a story up and feel like I would kind of sulk and wallow. Then I would get re-inspired because like, okay, I can pick myself up from this. And I would try and go all in. And I would be like, okay, let me just get all of it done today. And then it would be overwhelming and the cycle would start again. That was my cycle of like self-disappointment when it came to procrastination. And ultimately, over all of these years with the awareness I have now, that manifested itself as a huge lack of self-trust. And the more and more I dive into my own journey of self-trust, the more I realize how much of a relationship self-trust has with just overall peace and happiness and acceptance. Because when you don't trust yourself, you feel like it's the world's responsibility to help you and your external realities responsibility to like make you happier. But when you have a strong sense of self-trust, you know that it's on you and you trust that you can do that for yourself. So it's been a very powerful realization I've been working through. And so for me, my procrastination rooted in every area of my life, from work to working out to my business to my like relationships that felt more like obligations. Everywhere. I would always procrastinate. I would wait till the last minute. The only area I feel like I wouldn't really procrastinate in is like keeping a cleaner house. And even then, sometimes I would wait until someone's coming over rather than just having a clean house constantly. So things like that made me start to realize like this is actually creating a lot more stress than peace. And I'm putting myself in a bad cycle. It started to get really bad for me in January when I just felt like I had everything I wanted. I couldn't get to where I wanted to be. And I had these different versions of myself that I wanted. Like I wanted to wake up earlier. I wanted to drink up more water. I wanted to do my spiritual practice every day. I wanted to post on my social media or my business and record a podcast every week and send out emails every week. I had all of these goals of things that I wanted to do all the time because I was like, I am leveling up. I am stepping into my adult life. Like I had all these great goals. However, one, identity level, I'm a chronic procrastinator. And two, these are like 10 different things that I have to add to my to-do list every single day. And as someone who waits to do everything to the last minute, that's 10 things I'm leaving to do to the last minute. And that's 10 things I didn't get done. Maybe 8 things I didn't get done, and it would be overwhelming. I am queen of making long to-do lists to kind of punch through, and I would just be in this constant state of like burnout and I don't have enough time and I always have something more to do. And that was just absolutely debilitating for me. It drained my energy. It sucked the life out of me. It sucked like the passion for being alive out of me. It was, not to be so dramatic, but honestly, it felt like so detrimental to my moment to moment peace. It felt just like I could never just take a break for a second because I didn't trust myself to do it tomorrow. So I needed to do it all today. And it was just this very chaotic relationship that I had with just getting things done. So for me, because this was a pattern that I've experienced my entire life and I finally started to get tired of it, I realized it wasn't this external thing. I wasn't like running away from external things. It was something inside of me. It had to do with something internally. And I think from a procrastination perspective, my entire life looked externally. I was like, maybe I need a better time management system. Maybe I need a better work management system. Maybe I just need to have a good calendar. However, I realized, why am I procrastinating? Why do I not want to do it? Why am I scared to actually do the things I say I'm going to do? What is that? And I didn't have a clear answer at first, but just opening the door to that reflection and starting to realize like that the procrastination has nothing to do with the world outside of me. It is something inside of me. And for me, I realized if I stopped procrastinating because it was so tied to who I was, if I started to become consistent, what would change? It felt so uncomfortable. It felt too unfamiliar. It was almost like a fear of success or a fear of the unknown is a better way to put it. Like, then what? Then I don't have anything to blame. Right now, I can blame my procrastination. But if I'm putting my best foot forward and still not getting the results or the goals and hitting those goals that I want, then I'm the problem. It's not the procrastination. It becomes me because I am doing my best. So it was this interesting dynamic. So some more tangible examples, right? Working out. Say I wasn't loving my health or I wasn't feeling in my best health. I could just blame it as, well, I've been busy. I haven't been working out. All I need to do is work out. But there was a part of me that still skipped 90% of my workout classes. And why? It's because it's like, what if I work out and still nothing changes? What if I work out, get consistent, and I still don't enjoy moving my body, or I can't get stronger, or I don't feel more comfortable in my own skin? Then what? That's a very scary thought because then you don't have a solution. Right now, we're procrastinating our perceived solution to our problems. And we procrastinate it because we have a justification as to why our life isn't the way it is. However, if we are to hypothetically get consistent and do the things everyone says we're supposed to do, like drink water, say your affirmations, do all these things, what if our life still doesn't change? That fear of what if then it still doesn't work, that's what actually perpetuates that cycle of procrastination. And coming back, it's because we don't trust ourselves. So it's a very, almost like a love triangle where it's like procrastination, self-trust, and then self-discipline. They all have to do with each other and they all impact each other and our manifestation journeys. It all makes a big difference because when I finally admitted, like, I am literally just running away from myself. I don't trust myself, but I have to become more consistent to trust myself. But I don't trust myself. So that's why I can't be consistent. And that is why I procrastinate. And it's just like catch 22 because what are you supposed to do? So this is what I did to start shifting. First, I tried making those big to-do lists. I started thinking of the version of me who was consistent. And I had this long list. I had 20 different things that I would be doing every single day. And I tried that, but it perpetuated that same pattern where it worked for a week or two, but then it just died down. So then I realized I needed to first just think of consistency. Don't even think of a habit I want to be consistent in. I need to familiarize myself with the fact that I am a consistent person. Me, just that simple affirmation, I am consistent. Because when we place our consistency in the hands of, I don't know, working out, drinking water, doing your spiritual practice, when we place it on things outside of us, it's still kind of far out. So it's not actually on the identity level. So I needed to first treat consistency as a manifestation in itself. And whenever we start any manifestation, we start with ourself, right? And you'll know this if you go through my guide or my app, any of my processes, we always start at the root is us. Like, how do you view yourself in the eyes of this? So treating consistency as a manifestation. And how I did that was I started understanding and thinking about myself as a consistent person, just daydreaming. What is the consistent version of me? What does she look like? Why is she consistent? How does she feel when she's consistent? What does she do when she doesn't want to be consistent? And really being honest with yourself as to like, what does that look like? And how can I understand my patterns when it comes to consistency? So one of the first things I did was I noticed my distraction patterns. My distraction patterns were I would clean the house because I work from home. So I do laundry, do the dishes, cook, vacuum, do all these things because I'm like, oh, the house has to be clean. I'm keeping a clean environment. I would scroll on like Instagram or TikTok saying that I was like getting inspiration or finding trending audios for work, even though I was scrolling for hours and that it doesn't take hours, it takes 5 minutes. And then 3, I would like watch TV. I would like watch TV while I'm eating breakfast. And then that's like, oh, it's a 45-minute show. So now I have to watch the whole show for 45 minutes. So I noticed my distraction patterns and I started to notice what are the things that I do consistently. The only consistency I have was in distracting myself. So where is my consistency in distracting myself, and how do I revert that into consistency and keeping promises to myself? Hi, beautiful friend. I hope you're enjoying this episode. I wanted to hit pause for 15 seconds and share with you about my spiritual membership I created to help you raise your vibration and manifest with ease. I created Affirm It so you can have access to all, and I really mean all, of the spiritual tools you need to step into your higher self and watch your dreams manifest with ease. If you're really ready to dive into your spirituality and connect with your highest self, I invite you to join the Affirm It membership. More details are in the show notes if you're interested. And now let's jump back in. So for me, I started with, okay, I scroll on my phone. What if I only can scroll on my phone for an hour and it locks me out? I needed those hard boundaries. What if I don't clean? I only clean once a week. So any other time I want to clean, Sundays are cleaning day. Can't clean today. In terms of TV, I found shorter shows to watch. I found 20-minute little cooking shows I could watch while I was eating instead of like a 45-minute show that I wanted to keep watching. So working with your patterns, working with those consistent distraction patterns, and being strategic, approaching it like, let's find a solution for these distractions. That was step number one for me. And then to actually embody, and I did consistency affirmations from like an I am standpoint, which I have inside of my app. But then what I did, instead of trying to become the consistent version of myself who drank a bunch of water, woke up early, went to the gym, I built it small. I started with one goal that I wanted to be consistent in, and then I built up. So for me, it started with waking up early in the winter, because in the summer, I always felt like I could wake up early because the sun rises. However, in the winters when it was dark, I just didn't want to. It was just sleepy for me. So I started with, how can I challenge myself to wake up early in the winter, alert and refreshed and happy, not anxious? So the biggest thing is, one, lean on tools. So for me, one of the tools that helped me was I got this sunrise alarm clock that started with red light and would slowly sunrise for 30 minutes. And that actually really helped me start to open my eyes up and gave me a gentle wake up rather than like a blaring, it's dark outside and you just hear a really loud noise. It actually felt like a much more soothing way to wake up. So I wasn't as anxious when I was waking up. I love that thing. I use it every single day still, and it helps me wake up. And I started with focusing on that. My natural wake up time used to be 8:30. I moved it to 7, then I moved it to 6. And 6, I stayed consistent with. 6 was good because then I could be in bed and lounge till 7, whatever. So I started small. That's what I did probably for about a month. And I would wake up at 6, but go to the gym at 8:30. And I enjoyed that. And I was getting pretty consistent with it. But then I realized I didn't like getting home from the gym at 9:30 and then eating breakfast and stuff and then starting my day at like 10:30. That felt super late. So I was like, well, what if I push that back 2 hours? What if I went to the gym at 6 and then started my day at 8:30? Now that sounds like a really good plan for me, for my schedule, for how I felt in the morning. So then I pushed my wake up a little bit earlier. I started being able to go to the gym earlier. And now 6 months later, literally 5 a.m. wake up, 6 a.m. gym is so natural for me. Do I do it every day? No, I sometimes change it around. However, it has become who I am. And now I'm adding on new habits because I took that time to build that trust with myself slowly rather than forcing myself into it. Because when we're in a state of procrastination, we're in that fight or flight. We're in that nervous system kind of breakdown mode. But I want my nervous system to be calm as I'm building these new habits. I want myself to crave building these new habits because we procrastinate because we're constantly in a state of stress and we hate feeling that stress. And I wanted to feel ease and joy. So starting small with the habits I wanted to be consistent with. Maybe you're working on a spiritual practice. Don't start with trying to do 8 different things. Start with one thing. Start with just trying to say an affirmation while you're laying in bed. Let it be easy for yourself. And I think that's a big lesson I learned when it came to becoming more disciplined is finding tools that are designed or you design them to help you in your discipline, help you in becoming more consistent in the way you want to be consistent. For example, for me, that alarm clock, everything, that tool is so worth it to me because I was able to lean on it to help me wake up earlier. And another thing I lean on a lot is my app for my spiritual practice. All of my spiritual tools are right there. I don't have to think. I can just hit play and listen to a meditation if my mind is wandering. Like, use tools that make your goals easier. Water. Get a bigger water bottle. I used to drink out of a small cup, and I'd have to refill it like 10 times a day. And that just made me feel lazy. So now I have like a cup that's 3 times the size. So I only refill it 3 times a day. So just honestly noticing what holds you back and then making that easier on yourself, right? Like, notice where your excuses are and then work with that. Don't judge yourself and think that you can't have an excuse. No, it's like, okay, that's my resistance. How do I work with it? So be strategic with it. And slowly you will start to not only embody consistency, but then be able to stack more and more consistent habits. And before you know it, for me, it took 6 months, you will naturally become more disciplined and you will be able to depend on yourself. You'll be like, oh, I said I'm going to go to the gym. Cool. I'm going to go to the gym. Like, it just becomes second nature. It's not a clear pathway how. It takes that repetition. However, using these steps and treating consistency as your manifestation is the biggest tip I can recommend. The other thing, and I say this all the time, when it comes to discipline, when it comes to consistency, it does not mean it has to look the same every day. For me, my definition of consistency is saying the things I said I was going to do. And if I can't do them, I don't commit to them, even to myself subtly. You have to be able to willingly say, no, that is too much. I would rather just commit to this because I know I can do this. And if I do more, great. If not, no worries at all. Because I used to have 20 item to-do lists. Now my to-do list for the day is 2 items. If I get more done, great. If not, I feel so good that I did those 2 items. It feels way better to finish 2 items you said you were going to do rather than finish 2 out of 20 that you say you were going to do. So that's how you build self-trust, is being strategic with the promises you're making to yourself and working with yourself, working with your patterns, and knowing that you're a human too. You have been procrastinating probably for longer than you have been disciplined. And as you're shifting your identity, you've got to be gentle with yourself. So for me, now I have applied this for all areas of my life. And there's just one more area of my life that I'm really waiting on for myself to show up on, which is my business. And I've been more consistent in most parts. And I've been able to add on things that I can still stick to. But there's still some areas where I can be more consistent. And that's kind of what I'm checking in now. Like, for me, now, consistency is who I was, whereas 6 months ago, procrastination was who I was. So it is possible to identity shift in a short time. I would say the true identity shift for me took 2 months, but implementing it into all areas of my life in that slower, more gentle, feminine way, it took about 6 months. So try this out, see how you feel about it. And if you want to be guided through my exact process, my step-by-step guide to manifesting as a lifestyle is the exact like manifestation techniques that I teach, and it's step-by-step. It talks about consistency. There's a whole chapter dedicated to it on consistency. And if you're really working on trying to be more consistent in your manifestation practice or any area of your life, it's a really great place you can start by treating consistency as your manifestation. So I hope this was helpful. I know I'm not the only procrastinator girly who wanted to become a disciplined girly. So if that is you, let me know how this episode resonates and what you try from it. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast and share it on your social media so I know to keep creating episodes that are inspiring you to manifest. I'm so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and I'd love for you to join the community by following @AffirmationAddict on Instagram. To continue diving into spirituality and manifestation, head over to my website, affirmation-addict.com. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and so much healing energy.